Hey everyone, Pugs here with two new reviews for y'all. Today, I'm covering Bummer Vacation and Wigstruck. I don't know how people feel about Bummer Vacation, but I know Wigstruck ain't talked about all that much. Altogether, I get the impression that these two are both rather forgettable episodes. And I have to agree, even if I try to avoid calling episodes forgettable. But I just don't think about these two very much, so what else can I say? Now, for one of these episodes, I don't think about it because it ain't good, but I don't want to spoil anymore, so let me move on to the part where I say thank you to everyone who's watching. And with that, let's just get right into it. The first episode of today's reviews is Bummer Vacation. I'm gonna come right out the gate and be honest, I used to dislike this episode. Why? Hell if I know. But let's just say that a rewatch of this episode turned things around pretty completely. Let's talk about why that is. Bummer Vacation is another one of those episodes that uses Mr. Krabs' business practices as the basis for the plot. It's pretty cool that Bikini Bottom has a fry cooking union. We love to see it. Well, we'd love to see the end of capitalism more, but we'll take what we can get. It's completely in character for Mr. Krabs to not have given SpongeBob time off for a vacation during all the years he's worked with the Krusty Krab, so this is yet another example of a plot that is grounded in the established traits of these characters. And I love how this episode subverts expectations of SpongeBob immediately agreeing to take a vacation, complete with a good I'm ready moment. SpongeBob subsequently going straight to bed for his vacation is super relatable, although I am actually the type to fit in as much stuff as possible if I'm traveling. Staycations, then I'm fine with just lazing about. This assumes that I actually take vacations or staycations. I don't. Anyway, I love the little snippets we see of SpongeBob's everyday life with the glorious return of the stuffed animal weights and of Kelpo, the cereal. SpongeBob's flossing face was the stuff of nightmares, though. Good lord. Anyway, some production notes here. For some reason, the music choices in this first minute or two really stuck out to me. I like the use of Sunny Samoa for the title card, and then we get some nice usage of Marlon March and You're Nice in here as well. I love how shocked SpongeBob is when he learns what a vacation really is. SpongeBob's concern is fun to watch, and I love I love how Squidward's like, he's not gonna do all the stuff that SpongeBob's saying, and then Patrick being an unpaid intern is just hilarious to me, as is SpongeBob's utter disbelief at the prospect. That joke with Patrick using the spatula as a belly scratcher kind of drags though, not to mention it's disgusting, but that dullness ends nice and quick once we get to SpongeBob's house and cuts to SpongeBob looking utterly wrecked, with a wonderful appearance of my boy Gary as a bonus. I don't know what was in the air, but these animators and storyboarders and whoever else was involved were really just making nightmare fuel faces in this episode. SpongeBob's desperation to get back at the Krusty Krab is fun as hell to watch. I'd never do that though. I rarely ever shop or eat at the places I've worked at in the past. Going there my day off is bad enough, but when I'm supposed to be on vacation? Oh hell no. Absolutely not. But this episode is all about the Krusty Krab being SpongeBob's entire life, so it makes sense. Mr. Krabs is so completely over SpongeBob's shit in this episode, and it's amusing. Poor SpongeBob really cannot stop working. Now, to be fair, the issues he was fixing here were legitimate and needed to be addressed. SpongeBob just kind of floating back to his house is hilarious to me for no reason. SpongeBob playing with his little playset is funny, probably because of how sad it is, but I love how SpongeBob is literally so obsessed with work that he plays working. Somebody get this guy a hobby, since this episode pretends that SpongeBob doesn't have them. And Gary calling SpongeBob out on his shit is also hilarious. Bummer Vacation has got that weird, absurd, uncomfortably funny type of humor down pat. Like, I've already mentioned the nightmare fuel faces, but there's more. Like, the part where SpongeBob just stands on Krusty Krab property saying absolutely nothing got a pretty hearty laugh out of me, I must say. I think it was the combination of both SpongeBob's absolutely blank eyes and how Mr. Krabs and Squidward were just treating him like some kind of vermin or something. Too good. The other example of this kind of humor won't come till later, so let me just go back to a more chronological view of the episode. SpongeBob at Jellyfish Fields isn't particularly funny, but it is enjoyable. The low salt ketchup thing was funny, as was SpongeBob sneaking back into the Krusty Krab with a disguise. From there, the episode just becomes increasingly absurd as SpongeBob's mental state deteriorates, and I love to see it. Him literally coming through the phone is great, especially because of how it instantly fails. The toilet attempt is great as well, especially because of Patrick's reaction. Then Mr. Krabs literally drops SpongeBob in a forest, and I just have to laugh. And then Bummer Vacation takes a wonderfully weird turn as SpongeBob starts thinking that this entire thing is a conspiracy. His muttering is funny, probably because of how, I don't want to say out of character, but it is out of character, but in a way that's still in character? How do I explain this? SpongeBob is acting unusual, but in a way that makes sense for the kind of guy he is, because his circumstances have become unusual. He is now acting unusual. Got it? Okay, let me move on. The abrupt cut to Patrick makes us wonder just what's about to go down. Patrick opening up his rock to be greeted by an absolutely demented SpongeBob is just amazing. Tom Kenny acted the hell out of SpongeBob's mental snap here. I love the whole I've given the best years of my life to this place line. And then we, of course, have the ever-iconic, I've been waiting for you, Patrick, along with the fantastic evil laugh. SpongeBob is so unabashedly out of his mind in this episode, which continues when we see him wearing a Patrick suit and cackling. Mind you, a Patrick suit that was set up for us to think that SpongeBob was literally wearing Patrick's skin. Or maybe that was just me. Bummer Vacation is a really fun episode. Its humor doesn't lie in clever wordy gags or visual slapsticking gags. Rather, the humor is all in the bizarreness and absurdity of the plot, in the playing around of certain character traits of SpongeBob's in a brilliant way, and I can appreciate that. This is an episode where the enjoyment comes through most after watching the whole thing, at least that's how it is for me. No idea why I ever disliked this episode. Maybe I just didn't understand what it was trying to do. Maybe I thought SpongeBob was out of character and didn't understand how that unusual behavior circled right back into being in character. Not sure, doesn't matter. Bummer Vacation is a good episode, or rather, it's great. As in, it's going in my great tier, where it comes in with a score of 8.4 out of 10. Wigstruck. Now that's an episode I haven't watched in a long time. Well, I guess now it's an episode that I haven't watched in about a year, but before I started my project of reviewing every episode, it was true that I hadn't seen this episode in years and years and years, and there is a reason for that. Let's discuss. Okay, so I ain't gonna leave y'all in suspense. I don't like this episode very much. The main issue I've got with it is that it's just not all that funny, and it's also not all that adventurous or compelling or anything like that, so overall it's just kinda dull. Even the design of the wig itself is bland, showing how the blandness seeps through this episode. At the very least, the ridiculousness of the wig comes across, so there's that. But yeah, I just have to get my primary complaint out there now because you're about to see how it influences my thoughts on this episode at just about every turn. The beginning scene with the band teasing the wig-wearing member is like, okay, I guess. I feel like most of the time when there's a plot like this, a bunch of people teasing one person, it feels like everyone in this episode is a jobless loser, so it usually annoys me. This episode is no different. The guy's wig flies off into the wind and hits SpongeBob in the face, who promptly shows the wig to Patrick. This part wasn't all that funny. The part where Patrick beats up SpongeBob in an attempt to save him went on too long, and it would have been way funnier if it happened like that scene in Ghost Host did, with Patrick opening up the rock, SpongeBob barely getting a few words in edgewise before Patrick locks up tight. But that's just me. Patrick laughing at the wig also took entirely too long, and we just kind of sit there and watch Patrick kick and hit the ground while remaining on the same shot of him and SpongeBob. It's boring, visually dull, and lazy, which is very unlike what we've seen in the show thus far. Also, all I know is that Patrick better be laughing at the absurdity of SpongeBob's wig, and not the fact that SpongeBob is wearing a wig in general, or I'm gonna have a problem because there's nothing wrong with wearing wigs. I don't think that was the intention of this episode, but this moment in particular is kind of dicey, and I'm not a fan. Anyway, the scene ends with the condiment soak thing, and that was at least kind of funny. At the very least, it was absurd, and it adds interest back into the scene. To the surprise of no one, things don't improve. SpongeBob walking through Bikini Bottom is equally unfunny, and at this point in the episode, I have to wonder just where Bikini Bottomites get their audacity. That is one thing about this show. I feel like it frequently misses the mark between making the background characters funny assholes versus annoying assholes. Even if SpongeBob did walk out the house looking a mess, why are all these fish so confident in insulting him to his face? Also, this isn't really that important considering this show has no continuity, but it's weird that with this episode being fresh off the heels of Bummer Vacation, we see SpongeBob completely disregard cooking safety and get wig hairs all over his spatula and the patties. We're about 4 minutes into the episode by this point, and yet there's yet to be a moment that has truly made me laugh. A bad sign if I ever saw one. But this episode can still turn things around. It doesn't, but it could have. Sandy enters the episode without preamble, and I love the voice acting from Carolyn Lawrence here in the moment where she's like, practice? I don't know. Something about the delivery feels super genuine and real. And then yet again, we spend entirely too long watching someone laugh at the wig. Okay, I have to say it. Yes, the wig is ridiculous, but it isn't rolling on the floor laughing ridiculous. Like, stand up. It just feels like wasted time that could have been used to make the plot more interesting. Spending that much time on someone laughing is rarely ever funny, entertaining, or even a good idea. Unless it's a laughing ending or we get all sorts of shots or something. This episode is not doing that, so it's boring. Anyway, SpongeBob losing his balance and falling actually is amusing to me, but then we of course see a bunch of random people laughing again, and I get bored and irritated all over again. I have to admit that the scenes with Ned and the needlefish are truly useless in this episode. Yes, the band sets up the existence of the wig, but it's a pointless B-plot that could have been written out, and then maybe more attention would have gone into making the actual main plot of Wigstruck have an actual storyline. Was that mean? I don't mean to be mean, but literally nothing is happening. And besides, I can understand why the Ned and the needlefish scenes are there. They don't need to be written out, just fix the A-plot. Because if we're not going to make the episode super funny, at least make it engaging instead of having a bunch of failed gags. Anyway, Squidward trying to convince SpongeBob that everyone is laughing at him is just not entertaining on just about every front. Squidward himself is not funny. SpongeBob just feels off, and I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to see SpongeBob's spirit break when everyone's been making fun of him. And to back up for a second, what I mean about SpongeBob feeling off is that although he's happy and optimistic in this episode, his usual character traits, there's just something off about it. It's not charming. It's just odd. After this, we then get Patty hype, but less funny and less compelling when Mr. Krabs kicks SpongeBob out. Sandy re-enters the episode, which actually surprised me since I figured she would only be in that one scene. And again, the laughing just keeps being mentioned, which literally no one cares. Can we please move on? The scene at the movie theater is generally meh, which is the name of the game at this point. Nat tripping SpongeBob was uncalled for and just annoyed me. Again with the asshole bikini bottom behavior. SpongeBob shushing the guy then went on for far too long, so now I'm even more annoyed. By this point, SpongeBob is extremely full of himself for no reason, which is, you guessed it, annoying. I did like how everyone just had pitchforks and torches at the ready so they could just start a riot, and oh my god, guys, we finally had the first moment that made me laugh in this episode. It's a corny and cliche joke involving the ushers as everyone runs out of the theater, but I don't care. I liked it, and it was funny. Only took 9 minutes. Another thing I don't like in this episode is how everyone, particularly Sandy, since Squidward did kind of do this, acted like they had explained to SpongeBob the exact problem with his wig. SpongeBob was definitely taking everyone's words the wrong way, but the dialogue in this episode was all weird, and it felt like everyone was talking around the actual issue instead of just straight up saying that the wig is disgusting and ruining the food quality, distracting and rude, and just ridiculous looking. Maybe I just hate indirect communication, but this talking around shit annoys me, both in the episode and in the real world. SpongeBob learning his lesson in the end feels really abrupt. Though, I did like how Sandy's hurry up when SpongeBob starts saying a dramatic goodbye to the wig, and I do like that Sandy is in this episode in general because it shows that her character has use outside of her usual context. She frequently plays an advisory role to SpongeBob when they aren't sparring or competing, and this episode shows that. And yes, I'm very aware it's because she's the one female character of the main five, but let me have this. Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs would not have been good fits for the role Sandy plays here, with the exception of probably Mr. Krabs. Finally, the episode ends with the resolution of the B-plot, and with the irony that the wigs that SpongeBob had been being made fun of for are now cool. Yep, SpongeBob, you're a hipster before hipsters existed. Unfortunately, this revelation also makes me think of other real-world trends that are not as fun, so that's not great. And the ending stinger with Patrick giving SpongeBob his nasty-ass wig is not really all that funny. I may have found it funnier if it was the end of a different episode, but as it is, I'm just meh. And that's exactly the way I was throughout the entirety of Wigstruck. This episode is just meh. It's not really enjoyable, and it's almost entirely not even funny except for 2, maybe 3 jokes. That is not good. And honestly, I struggled to figure out where I'd put this episode. It's boring, has no jokes to save it, and at a few points it annoys me and even gets me mad. I think my biggest struggle is whether I'd put this episode lower than my lowest rated episode so far, Good Neighbors. I enjoyed a lot more of that episode than this one, but that episode crashed and burned, whereas this one just never really moved in quality. I don't think this episode hits the same lows as that one, so I won't rate it lower. It's sure as hell going in the same tier, though! That's why Wigstruck is being put in my barely tolerable tier with a score of 4.4 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. It's interesting seeing how much I love one of these episodes and still finding it to be rather forgettable. Maybe that's because of the weird vibe that's all over Bummer Vacation, but it's weird in a good way. I think it might be because of the style and the style of the humor and the fact that SpongeBob is removed from the Krusty Krab setting, so I think the vibes might be intentional. Wigstruck, though, nah, this episode just isn't good. Don't know what to tell you. I don't even think it had a terrible amount of potential either, but that's just because the entire plot is centered around people being assholes towards SpongeBob, and I don't want to see that. I also think that even though SpongeBob developing an ego is certainly within the realms of his character, the justification for his ego here is not strong enough to truly justify it. So it just feels abrupt and out of character even though it technically is within character. It's just not within reason. But I think those are the only thoughts I really have this time around, so I suppose I'll just end the video now, and I'll see y'all in the next review.